Hey guys, I'm Ava, and let's talk about Pokemon. Today we are going to be talking about ETFs. So I've heard a lot of people, on things like the Pokeinvesting subreddit and kind of all over, saying that it's possible to invest in Pokemon like an ETF. And a lot of times these people are talking about index funds like SPY. So I just wanted to talk about this because it kind of gets my goat when people talk about this in that way. So first, let me explain what an ETF is. ETF, stands for Exchange Traded Fund, right? So in ETF, there are two types really, two main categories of ETFs. The first is passive and the second is active. And if anyone knows about mutual funds, ETFs are a lot like that, except they can be traded intraday. So an ETF is kind of a basket of a bunch of different stocks, right? So the reason that people like them is because they're diversified and they're easy to manage. You don't have to deal with balancing your portfolio. The people who run the ETF, if it's active, will do that for you. And if it's passive, these are what we're talking about when we're talking about an index fund. The most famous is, of course, SPY. Vanguard also has a very popular one, but these ones are passive because they just represent an index. So that could be the S&P 500, and they might also weight them differently. So it could be weighted by market cap, or they could all be equally weighted. It's up to the investor to choose. And then active ones, I think, are more interesting. So that is where there are people who manage it and kind of choose and will rebalance the portfolio and decide what should be in it. So these ones can be more sector specific or industry specific. For example, you can get an ETF for solar, robotics, tech, pretty much anything, commodities. There are ETFs for everything. The reason people like ETFs is because they are a fairly low fee option. So for SPY, the fee is less than 0.1%. So it's like 0.095%, I believe. And for actively managed ones, it's usually a bit higher because, again, it's actively managed, so there's a bit more thought that goes into it. But these are great because they're an easy way to diversify your portfolio. And if you choose actively managed ones, you can get more exposure to things that you are particularly interested in and bullish on. Now, we know what ETFs are. They're pretty cool. They're a great tool for people who don't want to spend a lot of time looking at the market, and I think a better option for most people than picking individual stocks. But let's talk about how Pokemon relates to this. So I've heard some people say that, if you buy one of every new set or two, multiply it by whatever amount you want, then you're diversifying, and it's essentially like buying an index fund for Pokemon. This has some truth to it, but mostly I strongly disagree with this sentiment. First of all, index fund, whole market. When you're buying something like SPY, you're effectively saying, I'm not sure what will go up, but I believe in the economy. Or if you buy something like a robotics ETF, I don't know which of these companies is going to make it, but I believe in robotics. Or I believe in tech. I believe in gold. Whatever you believe in, you're effectively saying that. But when you're buying Pokemon cards, even if you buy one of every single set or every single product, two of every single set, that's nothing like an index fund. That's very, very different than saying I believe in the trading card segment of the Pokemon franchise of Nintendo, right? Obviously, there's more to it than that, but you can see why this is not nearly the same level of diversification. And again, another major point is that those are passive. So buying and selling Pokemon cards is the antithesis of passive. It is so much more labor intensive than just clicking buy and sell on stocks, right? I think this should be obvious. And there's also much higher fees. So, we've got TCG player fees, we've got eBay fees, we have shipping costs, we have sales tax, we have all of these things. So the low fee thing doesn't apply either. So these are really different. If you want to say you're investing in Pokemon like an ETF, because I feel like a lot of people, want to justify their choices by making equivalencies to like more legitimate established things, you could maybe say it's more like an active ETF in that it's a subset. In this case, it's a very, very narrow subset though. It's still a bit iffy to me. I understand that it's, the intent is to diversify, and that makes sense, but I think it's a false equivalency to compare this to an index fund or even most ETFs in general, because they have such a wide basket of companies. All of tech is still a much, much more broad category than all of new Pokemon cards, all of modern Pokemon cards, or even if you go back and buy every other set. I'm not saying that buying Pokemon cards is a bad idea. Clearly, I don't think that, but I do think that it's important to be aware of the risk, you're incurring, and to not draw these false equivalencies that will make that risk appear less than it is. You know, you should be aware of what the actual risk is and see if your risk tolerance lines up with that. And of course, you should make sure that in the event that, you know, your Pokemon card investments don't work out, you still have enough money. That's obviously very, very important. So I just wanted to make this video because it kind of gets my goat, hearing people call Pokemon like an index fund. It's not. It's not like an ETF in general, really, I would say. You're investing in a portion of one franchise, right? That's very, very different than a basket of 30 companies. And, you know, we talked about this in my last video, but Pokemon cards aren't generating any money. They aren't generating free cash flow. So these businesses that are mostly making money, presumably, unless maybe you're buying tech stocks, you know, they have income. They're generating cash for shareholders. Pokemon doesn't have that. So please don't call Pokemon an ETF. You know, it's fine to say you want to diversify. I do think that makes sense. I buy almost every set. But I think this language is maybe a bit gatekeeping when people call it like an ETF. If you're just buying some of every single set, I don't think that's anything crazy. I don't think there's anything wrong with it. But I think sometimes people will use this type of language to feel like they're more in the know than other people. And it's harmful because of what I said earlier. It doesn't convey the true risk. If you tell someone who is new into the hobby, oh, just treat Pokemon like an ETF, buy every single set, that's not going to convey risk very well, is it? Because ETFs, the whole point is that they're less risky than buying single stocks. Well, that point does not hold with Pokemon. So moral of the story, I don't think Pokemon is like an ETF. I just wanted to make this video really quickly because I had a lot of salt building up on my shoulders. Thank you guys so much for watching. Please check out my Patreon, linked in a pinned comment, and my affiliate links. If you like this video, please subscribe to my channel. Comment below how wrong I am, and if for some unknown reason you enjoyed this video, comment below what type of content you'd like to see next. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you guys next time. And a massive thank you to all of my patrons, especially The Squander of My Life and Mythic Timmy.